Hey, yo, what's good with everybody, man? I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed. And like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. So, with that being said, I have a subscriber that wanted to tell his story, his prison experience, and what it was like living like a resident. You know what I mean by a resident? I've explained it a few times, but I'm going to let him tell it his style, his version, his story. Go ahead and introduce yourself, my boy.
What's going on? They call me D, Antelope Valley.
Well, what city are you from?
I'm from Palmdale.
And does Palmdale have Sureño neighborhoods out there?
Yeah, they have quite a lot.
A lot?
Yeah, they have quite a lot.
Man, sounds like a nice city though, bro. Like Palmdale, you think of palm trees and relaxation next to the water. It's really has a lot of gangs out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of gangs out there. There's a lot of gangs that migrate out from LA, from IE. It's a big old melting pot of nothing but just gangs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so on the streets, did you associate with any Southerners?
No, I didn't. I I was more into the party scene. I stayed in my own lane. You know, of course, did some dumb shit. We all did when we were younger. Drinking, did some drugs, and just lived a little wild life.
Yeah. And so what did you do to catch your case?
Initially, it was a DUI with the GBI, but it was it was to say the least the best possible thing that could have happened to me, considering everything else I was doing in my life at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it was. The charge and case that I caught.
A
They ended up,
DUI with a GBI, right?
yeah, correct.
You were drunk and you tumbled over. You ran over somebody.
I crashed and somebody got hurt.
Oh, so you're out there drunk doing donuts.
I don't even know. I honestly don't even remember. I know that sounds like some bullshit, but it's just bits and pieces that I remember, and that just so happens to be a part that I don't remember.
Hey, well, that'll be a good message to leave at the end. I want you to talk about that, like why kids shouldn't drink and drive. But so, how long did they sentence you for?
They sentenced me to 5 year to 6 years and 4 months.
Okay, so how much time did you do?
I did a little over five and a half. I'd say about 5 years, 6 months.
Oh, that's not bad. That's pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
First timer.
yes, sir.
And so, what was it like? I mean, being at, how did they tell you that you were going to be a resident? How did they approach you? What was their exact words? And did you even understand what that meant?
I didn't. I Someone not really being too savvy of gangs. I didn't know what to expect when I first got locked up. Nobody told me where I was supposed to go. Nobody told me who I'm supposed to be around. It took, I'd say, about 2 to 3 days before I even found out that I was a resident.
When you got to the yard?
It was I ended up getting a celly from San Fernando Valley who we chopped it up for a little bit, and he was asking me, hey, so what's up? Well, what are you? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm Hispanic. I'm Mexican. So no, like, you Paisa, you Southsider. I was like, well, what do those mean? And he broke it down to me and let me know, basically, if you're not from Mexico or any of the countries below America, you're considered a resident, a Southern resident. So that's how I found out that I was, if I was a resident.
And did he educate you more on it, or he pretty much just left it as that?
He pretty much left it as that. He told me, I gotta introduce myself in the morning during roll call, sound off the whole 9 yards.
And from there, did they approach you and tell you like what you could and couldn't do?
No, he didn't. He
Your
didn't.
celly did, right?
Right. My celly never. He didn't completely lace me up. He just let me know where I was standing, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And when you got introduced to the rest of the Southsiders and the Sureño program, Nobody taught you what it was like to be a resident, what you could and couldn't do.
They broke it down in the simplest way they could. They told me the basic stuff. Don't wear your shower shoes around the dorm. You know, of course, always keep your eyes and ears open. Don't pay attention to stuff that doesn't concern you. Very simple. Very simple. Mind your business and common sense. Common sense goes a long way. So those were the main things that they let me know. They different dorms have different rules, so it really just it depending on which dorm you were in is what they would lay down for you. But most part is just comments. Don't do dumb shit. Don't front yourself off.
But when it comes to like programming, did you have to like wake up when they did? You could take a cat nap when they did.
No,
No other rules.
it was up at first unlock, so I'd say about 5 in the morning, and they gave you from 5 in the morning until I'd say about 8 to get to do your routine. Is for everybody under, I believe, under the age of 35. It was mandatory that you do your routine in the morning.
Oh, bust down.
Yeah.
Okay, what do they tell you about like engaging? Like if there's a riot or if a Southerner was getting jumped by other ethnicity groups or a paisa, what did you have to do?
Well, I didn't find out until a little later when I was in county, because nobody really gave me the rundown of how things go. Like I heard little bits here and there of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to conduct yourself in certain situations. But for the most part, whenever there would be tension in the dorm, it was just, you know, you see everybody get up, so you get up. No one's telling you to get up. You're just doing it out of reaction without knowing that that's what you're really supposed to be doing. But for the most part, yeah, nobody ever came up to me and you know gave me a list of rules of this is what you're supposed to do. This is when this happens. This is how you react. I pretty much I went in blind. Of course, it's my first time ever being locked up, so I didn't know anything. And then for nobody to really, sit down, talk to me, lace me up, because it was very, like, not confusing, but it was, I don't know, it was something else. It was different.
You had a hard time programming.
I wouldn't say a hard time programming. It was more a hard time understanding, because I know I would slip up sometimes, but I would try to catch myself before any of the homies notice. Because for people who don't know that haven't been there, there's very strict guidelines and rules of things not to do, because there are disciplinary actions for it. Whether it be you know bust down, get your 113, or if you're a repeat offender, you go to the back.
They told you that?
That's the way it goes.
Oh, that's very interesting. No, no, I don't think. Yeah, I never thought about that. That's actually an interesting one. I never was told about that. Did they read your
Yeah.
paperwork?
Yes, they did.
They
It's
screened
the
it.
first thing I had to show them as soon as I went into the dorm. They they didn't ask me for it. I was told that you're supposed to, so I presented it myself. But they they acted like if it didn't matter. I'm assuming because it was at the time, I was in county, so you're it, you have charges, but since you haven't been sentenced yet or anything, people don't really pay attention. I'm pretty sure if it's something wrong or something off, I'm sure they handle that. But for something as simple as what I went in for, or if it's a drug case, something like that, they're not gonna fully read into it.
When you say dormant in county, I'm a little confused.
Okay, so there's dorm rooms in county. There's not there are cells, but they're in the lower floors of where I was at. So where I was at in county, I was in a couple dorms, with, I'd say, about 100 people, about 100 people to a dorm. And some of the dorms have double racks. Some of the dorms have triple racks where you got 3 people on one rack.
Okay. And then you transitioned over to county?
To no, from county, I ended up, after my sentencing, I ended up fast tracking to Wasco reception.
And what was it like for you in there?
It it wasn't like county. It wasn't like county. It was a real eye opener for anyone who's never seen it. As soon as you walk into the dorm, it's like all eyes are on you. People want to see who's coming to their house. It's not just a dorm. It's not just people, living and stuff like that. That's their home for the time being. People want to know who's coming into their house. That's when they start, pressing you for paperwork. As soon as the guard lets you in, you go put your stuff up on the bunk. Hey, paperwork. Let me check your paperwork. For some people, that could be very intimidating, especially if you're nervous walking in. It's. I want to explain that those dorms are huge. Those are really huge dorms. So if you're used to the dorms that you see in county, that's nothing as to what you see when you hit either reception, and see that big ass dorm that they have. So it could be very intimidating, especially with I'd say over 150 people just standing at the rails, staring at you. You know, it's very nerve wracking.
Yeah, because the other vulnerability that's there, you can get pulled off your bunk. You're easily accessible to people. It's pull them off your bunk, stabbing. There's so many places to hide, go around a bunk, in between bunks, get caught in the bunks. I can understand that. And plus, you're surrounded
Yeah,
by every gang imaginable there.
yeah,
Yeah, then
definitely.
Wasco, right? And Wasco, when you first get in there, how they make you strip down butt naked, like the whole line of bus right there before you, and then you have to walk all the way around, have butt naked, and get in the cages and put your boxes
Yep,
on. Yeah, I went
yep,
there I think I went there either when I was getting dropped off in Susanville, that was a layover, or I think I
yeah,
went there to from Corcoran Shoe, but I don't can't remember which one. But yeah, I remember that. That was a traumatic experience.
yeah. It's degrading. It's very degrading, especially for, like I said, for people who don't live a criminal life, have never been in trouble before, have never been arrested, have never had any police contact. All of that could be very, how do I say it? It could really mess with your head to have to endure all that at once. For someone who's never even touched a cop car, never even got a ticket, so it's it's very intense stuff. Even though it's very normal, it's very simple for that type of environment. I can see how, because I'm sure you remember at reception they have that bell.
Yeah.
So I can see how some people end up ringing that bell just as soon as they hit reception, because it could take a toll on you. And I've seen it. It's weird. I've seen people behind me. We're getting off the bus. We're walking in. I go through, process through. The person behind me goes to process through, hits that bell. And I didn't know at first, like, why, what's up with the bell? Not realizing later on that they checked out.
So, I mean, honestly, the way you explain things, you can tell, you can hear the innocence behind you, bro. You can honestly hear the innocence that you didn't know what you were going through. You didn't know what you were up against. You
Yeah,
kind of make me feel like a foul criminal because I'm like, yeah, I've been to that. That's kind of fun. That was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. It's thug life. But now I'm just like, bro, he makes me feel really like bad as a person because to us, that gangbang, that was the life we didn't care. But to you, you really sound genuinely innocent by being exposed to all this. And do you think being exposed to this as somebody for the first time who's never did a crime, in your case, a DUI with a GBI, was an accident, but you were still under the influence of alcohol. You don't think that's scary for people that's never been in this lifestyle that don't know what you have coming to walk in this kind of situation?
yeah. It's very scary. It's very scary, but also you can, in a sense, become numb to it because you're still in shock. It could be, for me, it was about 4 months after it happened. I was still in shock. I still couldn't believe that I was going through what I was going through. I couldn't believe that I just signed my deal for 6 years, 4 months, and that's how long I wasn't going to see my family. It's every single thing that you see from the time you get processed in the county. It can numb you, it can scare you, it can frighten you. I've seen people have panic attacks in the holding tank. It's for people that have never been through it before. It's a very real experience. It's like something that you've never had to deal with before. You see so much crazy stuff all at once in a little room. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, yeah. Trust me, I understand. I think I was just so used to it since a kid, since I was 13, went to juvie and all that.
Yeah,
That it didn't scare me. I was just kind of like ready for it. I knew I could fight. I knew I was willing to fight. I know I was willing to stab people. But for somebody that's never went through it, I can understand the traumatic effect that it could have on somebody's mental state of mind, especially trying
yeah,
having no choice but to endure because you made a careless mistake once. I mean, you like you said, you were probably
yeah.
doing stuff too, but either way you weren't ready for this lifestyle and you weren't ready to go to prison.
Right. And another thing I want to say too is I know a lot of people get the misconception that it's like it is in the movies. And I'm here to say it is nothing it is nothing like the movies. Nothing like you see on TV, nothing like you see in American Me, Blood and Blood Out, nothing like that.
Hold on,
It
bro.
has its moments.
You're offending a lot of people saying that, bro. Those are like bad movies right there. Those are the basis of the movies.
Yeah. But
Those are good
I'm
movies right there.
just saying, like not it's not 100% like that.
I know.
You know, it's just because I know those were the questions I was getting asked when I would, call home or get visits from family or friends. So, hey, so do they really do this or do they really do that? It's like, nah, like I don't know
Do they
where you're
really
getting
do
that
what?
from.
Do they really do what?
Like just like stuff they see in the movies.
Like
Like
what?
real intense shit. Um,
Say it. I know what
how
you're
to
saying. I know
explain
what
it?
you because I trust me. I get asked
Yeah,
all the time.
it's it's hard to explain, but okay, like they say like, oh well, do you see people get you see people get raped and stuff like that? And I was like, honestly, like I don't. Where I'm at, I don't see it. If it happens on the low because I don't see that shit. I never did the whole time I was there. Or I mean, when they ask, like, oh, is it that crazy? Or people getting stabbed all the time and this and that? Same answer. I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. Have I seen it? No, and if I did see it, I probably shouldn't have. Like you know
He
what I
said I
mean?
probably should.
Just
Oh my god, dude, that's awesome, bro.
yeah,
He said I probably should. I respect that, bro. So the whole time you didn't see a removal?
yeah. I've seen quite a few removals. That's what I wanted to get at too. Was for people, for the people who don't know, a lot of stuff like that is stuff you're not supposed to see because if if it's brought up by you, if you mention it, if you hey, so who was it that got taken off the yard, or it's not your business, and you can be dealt with for bringing that up.
As a resident.
So there's a lot of stuff you're not supposed to see, but I mean, some people see it. Of course, when it's on the yard, everybody sees it. But does anybody talk about it? It never happened.
Yeah,
So
so
that's
it's pretty
that's
much.
another thing I want to too. 'Cause I know a lot of people, especially the younger people who are, I hate to say it, but living the wrong life right now that might end up in that situation. A lot of these kids nowadays have a loud mouth and they don't know when and where to say the right things. That can be very detrimental to your life. To either see something you're not supposed to see, hear something you're not supposed to hear, or even speak to something you're not supposed to speak about.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, a lot of people are flamboyant now. They brag a lot on social media. A lot more people are getting caught just by just word of mouth, sharing it with friends, and somebody gets put over, and they whisper something in the cops' ear just so they can get out of get out of jail free card. A lot of people are getting incriminated
Yeah.
because people talk a lot. People like to brag about it. It's not like the old school days where you see people like you wouldn't even know the person next to you just threw somebody in a hole and threw a hell of dirt over them. You never really seen that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So being a Southern resident and you were never part of gang lifestyles, what was it like for you though mentally? Like, how did you feel being around like Southerners and Surenos who pretty much told you what you could and couldn't do, that you had to jump for them and things like that? Like, finally being around them, knowing you have to obligate yourself to them at some extent.
Yeah. Okay. So to start off, growing up, I was never really cool with them. I have family members that are, that are affiliated, but as far as me, I've never been cool with them. I've always gotten in fights with them in school. I've always been either, you know, I wouldn't say bullied, but because I'm pretty small. I'm not some big buff guy, this and that. But it seems like I always had problems with, gang members, even though I wasn't from anywhere growing up. So to be on the flip side in their environment, in their hood, their home, it was very um it was different, because it's something that I have to deal with. There's no escaping that because that's all there is. So as far as you know what I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do, I try to I try to listen for things that seem right, because I know a lot of people will tell you a couple things to make you crash out. I've heard it before. I've I've heard that some people are known for doing that. Especially people that don't really know the whole lifestyle. I've been told that there's some homies that'll purposely put you in situations to make you crash out just because they don't like you and they want to see you leave.
So you feel
And
like residents, do they ever get preyed upon or used or sent on missions,
yeah,
forced? You seen that through
yeah,
your time?
yeah. I would say so. Maybe not fully, but I would say they get used a lot. You know, like I said, they're pretty much like the pawn on the chessboard. They can't say no to certain things. It's mainly a yes to everything. Hardly ever will you be able to say no. You know, you I don't know if certain yards are different, but I know if something happens, most of the time they're front line. They got to be front line. They're the expendables. You know, them and the affiliated little homies. The front line. And if you've never seen anything crack off before, you've never seen more than 100 people fighting. It's very nerve wracking. It's very scary. And I've seen people when it's about to crack off. I've seen some of the residents that I got to know literally shaking because they're so scared that something might happen. And I know things go in their head like, fuck, what did I do to get here? Or damn, I don't belong here and stuff. But unfortunately, yes, you do. You do belong here because of the decision you made to get here.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I think as residents, because I've heard a lot of cases where a lot of residents went on a mission with a Southerner or Sureño, whether it was for their own ambitions or not.
Yeah,
You know, some people just get placed in these predicaments just by the situation and the environment that they're in themselves. Sometimes that environment can force your hand. And like say like he's trying to go home and he's a resident, he follows the Southerner program, he
yeah,
does what's asked of him, and then it kicks off because the Southerners went to war with the blacks. He ain't got no choice but to get in there. I mean, he might lay it down after the whole ride's over and a bang. He's laying next to a banger. He
yeah,
doesn't even see it, and he gets caught with a banger. There's nothing he can do.
yeah. And on another note too, I've seen some really, they call them tunas, a lot of turned up non-affiliates too, but what I
What?
noticed is that comes about from residents that end up kicking it with people that are affiliated, but they're from the same city, so they become real cool with each other. Then they start, they want to be accepted. I feel like that's what it is a lot of residents want to be accepted. They don't want to, be put in this category of, okay, these are residents and this and that. So I feel like a lot of residents gravitate towards the people from their own city that are affiliated, and I feel like that's how they end up, following in the same footsteps.